Good morning. Today's Tuesday, and this is my Testimony Tuesday for May 15th. Um, so I was kind of asking the Lord what I should be sharing about today, and this is what the Lord reminded me of. Have you ever been in a season or a time in your life when you literally felt like you had to step out of your boat and walk on water? And that the Lord was calling you out of a boat and asking you to step out in faith and walk on water. And what exactly does that look like? Because a lot of people talk about getting out of the boat and walking with the Lord on the water. But I'm going to testify today about a season in my life, in the life of my family, when that's exactly what the Lord called us to do. And this was about a little over 20 years ago, and it was in the middle of my husband's health crisis. Literally, he was in the hospital in an isolation unit, and was having multiple surgeries and complications after this major health crisis that he'd had with his intestines. And we felt like the Lord told us that it was time to move. Now, we have been living in a small community out in West Texas, and we had been there for about 7 years. So I would say we were pretty well established in that place, in that community. And it wasn't a convenient time for us to move. My husband was in the hospital. We had mounting medical bills. We didn't know what we would do for income, for a living, if we made the move. But the Lord had actually prepared our hearts because 2 years prior to that, before everything, all the wheels fell off of everything, my husband had received a prophetic word from a man from New York that he didn't know. And the man gave my husband this word. I have it on a tape somewhere. And it went something like this. The Lord says, move. And then he said, you're going to receive a call from a man, and he's going to say this, this, and this to you. And you're going to know that you know. So that was a little bit of the word. Well, we are in the midst of this season of dealing with these medical complications and this crisis that we're in. And we got that phone call, and it was pretty much word for word in line with the prophetic word that my husband had received 2 years earlier from a totally unrelated stranger. We both had just a sense that this was God for our family, and a peace that kind of came on us. And we were just like, I have no idea how this is going to happen. How could this even work out? This is a crazy time. And we didn't even tell anybody. We didn't tell anybody in our family or in our church for several weeks, because we were like, are we crazy? But we both were so excited because we knew that it was the voice of the Lord. It's like when you hear the voice of the Lord saying, get out of the boat, it's there. Everything can seem crazy. You can have this crazy storm going on around you, and you can have really an inconvenient time. But there's also this excitement, because there's a part of your spirit that knows that you've heard his voice, because he said, my sheep hear my voice. And when you hear his voice, I mean, there's a joy and an excitement attached to it. So we kind of took a deep breath and began praying into it, began imagining what it might be, what it might look like. We eventually went home from the hospital. My husband had asked the Lord, if I get a chance to move and to start a business, what should I do? And the Lord gave him a very specific word, and he didn't even know what it was. But I can tell you that today this is the same business that he's been in for the last 20 years. And it is the business that he continues to run right now. But I'll let him share that someday. But so we ended up telling our church, we're moving, and we didn't know. We packed up our family to kind of do an exploratory trip, and we came up to the Metroplex and stayed with some friends, and we didn't know how it was going to work out. But I can tell you that within the first 48 hours, I had a job, the job that I currently still am working. About 24 hours after that, we had put an offer down on a home, not the home I'm in now, but in our previous home, which seemed absolutely insane. We had the pledge of the job that I was going to start, and we had about $600 of pledge support a month. And that was it. And within 24 hours of us putting down an offer on the home, it was accepted. Within 2 weeks, the mortgage went through, and we were packing up to move to the Metroplex. And it was a whirlwind of activity, but it was one of those moments when we knew the voice of the Lord was saying, get out of that boat that you're in, get out of that comfort zone. I have something new for you. I've got something different, and it's time for you to step out in faith. And we knew that it was the voice of the Lord because it was nothing that we would have imagined in our own head, and it was attached to peace and a joy and excitement. And we began to see the open doors of the Lord's provision each step along the way. So, the first thing we had to do was imagine and dream about it. And then we had to come to the Metroplex and investigate and see what the Lord might have. And it was when we started faithfully stepping out into those areas that we saw doors beginning to open. And that's exactly what it looked like for us stepping out of that boat in the season that we were in. Now, I'm sure that the Lord will call us out of the boat many, many, many times in life. That's just one example of a time when we stepped out of the boat. And I can tell you that when you hear the voice of the Lord and He calls you to step out of the boat, He is faithful, and He will open the doors, and He will make a way, even when there seems to be no way for you. And He'll confirm His word to you, and He will give you the peace that you need, and He will give you the joy that you need to step into it. It might still be a little scary sometimes and a little uneasy, but you'll know when it's the Lord and when it's not you just like trying to create something or hope that this is God. You'll know that it's the Lord because His voice is very, very clear and authentic. So that's my testimony for today. I hope that you have a blessed day. And if you're in a season when the Lord is calling you to step out of a boat of comfort, something that's been familiar to you, that's been your source and your livelihood, that thing that you've been attached to in your identity, pray about it. Check. Is there joy? Is there peace? Are there open doors? Is this the Lord calling you out? Take a step. See what there might be. So, anyway, be blessed today. Bye.